Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Gautam, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Just let's give it 2 minutes more for others also to join in. By the way, we have also streaming this on the YouTube now, parallelly, and we have our teams have shared across the YouTube live link also that can be shared amongst your groups and also to the students this time, whoever wants to join. So Gautam has and us, our teams have specially planned this. So if the students wants to sit through this, they should also find the session very, very useful. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining and a very, very warm good afternoon to all of you. This is the Quiklrn English Lab session number 5, November 13, 2025. As you all know by now that Quiklrn, as a part of the VTU consortium, are providing two courses, two very, very engaging courses, which is Communication Skills Lab and Soft Skills Lab. Both of these courses are extremely interactive and activity oriented. In today's session, what we're going to cover we are going to cover the Soft Skills Lab. I know Soft Skill as a course has been introduced for the first time in the VTU consortium, and our English teachers and the librarians who are facilitating the course and many others are doing a tremendous job in terms of facilitating the soft skills course. This particular session dedicated for the soft skills course. The previous 4 sessions have been focused on the communication skills course, and the playlist of that is already published and is now available. So all the sessions have been recorded, and we have started the recording for this session. Have we? Yes. All right. All the sessions have been recorded and the playlists are very well available. So without much of a delay, I'm going to get inside showcasing the agenda today. The agenda is we are yet going to cover the English lab login process, how to do the login. And login, Ashwini, you will run it from your laptop? Yeah. Yeah. We'll show the login process. I will do that for the first 5 minutes. And very importantly, we will show both the modes. How do you log in from the laptops, as well as how do you log in from your mobile phones? So let's start with the login process, followed which we'll have the English lab, and we'll talk about the soft skill module. And at the end, we will also walk through the soft skill facilitator guide. So this is how we are going to follow the session. So let me start with the first 5 minutes I'll spend with you, all of you, on ensuring that every student and every faculty members are able to log in. In order to ensure that everybody has to log in, there is a QR code that we share every time. If the students who are newly admitted, if your college has not shared the data, there is a link which we have sent along with the mail and the QR code. Please take a picture of this QR code and take a picture of this link. Please update the newly admitted students in this link. And also, you could update, if you're not updated it so far, please go ahead and ensure that all your first year students are fully enrolled. Once they're enrolled, only then they will be able to access the English lab. In case if they are getting errors like email ID invalid or give me the college code, it's an indication that either the right email ID has not been registered or the students have not got registered at all. So these are the two indications. There are almost a lakh of students who are already enrolled onto the platform, and significant number of them are already using it. So please, once again, let's take a picture of this chart so that you remember what is the Google form link. This form has to be filled up by the English faculty or the librarian of the college. Please do not share this with the students. There is 1, 2, or 3 forms per college that we can tackle. So as you resubmit the form, that becomes a second form against your name, and we are tracking all the forms that have been submitted. At this point, I will move over to how to log in. I hope this part is very clear. It's a very simple thing. Scan the QR code and fill up the Google form. So let's move on to the login process. And for the login process, what you have to do is go to home.quiklrn.com. And again, I'm speaking a little slowly because as we are doing the YouTube streaming, there is always a lag. Just being conscious of that fact, we are taking the session a little slowly. So this is the Quiklrn homepage. Remember the spelling, there is no C, and remember LRN, there is no E and A. Quiklrn.com. Home.quiklrn.com is our website. And where you need to go is you have to go to the resources area. When you click on the resources area, you will have the VTU English lab. Just stay there, Ashwini. Now, from last week also, you will find the VTU English lab also below the login button. We had identified that many students were using the login button for getting the access to the English lab. For that purpose, we have again created a special item under the login button also, which says the VTU English lab. They need to click on the VTU English lab for accessing the Quiklrn English lab. When you log in, you will get the screen here at quiklrn.com and welcome back. So that's where you need to enter your register. The students needs to enter their registered email ID. not any other ID. Please ensure the email ID that you're entering is the one with which you have got registered to. Otherwise, it will say invalid email ID or password, or you will get a college code, need for a college code will come up. And again, while entering the password, please ensure there are no extra spaces coming in. It may give a error of invalid password. Once you've entered this, the next thing you have to do is click on the tick button where the cursor is there at this point in time and go and log in. Once you log in, you will have the two start buttons and where you would be able to start the course. Ashwini, this time we will start the soft skills course as we are going to do the soft skills course today. So when you press the soft skill course for the first time the loading takes 1 minute or so, because that's where a lot of things happens. Setup gets done for the user at the back end. Please allow it that a couple of minutes for the first time to happen. Once it go through, you will get the screen, which is your soft skill lab, and Gautam will walk you through that. Now, before I hand over to Gautam, we are going to show the same login process in one more format, one more layout, which is the mobile format. As many of our students are using the mobile phone to access the lab. And the good news is the process is exactly the same. You have to use, again, I repeat, you have to use the Google Chrome browser on your mobile phone. Whether you're using an Android mobile phone or you are using the Apple phone, please use the Google Chrome to access this. That's where you will get the best of the experience and the best of the functionalities. Now, when you log inside that, this is the portrait screen that you will get. And when you click on the portrait screen, you will get a burger. Do you see that burger button on top where the cursor is there right now? Please click on the burger button, and there you will see a drop down which has the resources and the login. Please ensure that you're either clicking the resources or the login, and you're selecting the VTU English Lab. You are selecting the VTU English Lab. And when you select the VTU English Lab, you will get the screen. And again, Ashwini will enter the password, email ID, and the password. Exactly the same experience what you saw on the laptop. Only difference is in the mobile phone, the menu which is there on the left-hand side once you start in the course comes like a burger button. Please remember to press the burger button which comes at the bottom of the screen to access the menu. See, you see a burger button to the bottom of screen. That's where you'll get the table of content. Now you get the table of content. That's a very simple process to access the content on the mobile phone as well as on the laptop. All right. I'll pause over here. That was so far for the login process. The same thing is also available as a video. I'm not going to play the video right now, but what I will request my team is to put the video in the chat. Will the chat work right now? Okay. Yeah. So we will put the video in the link in the chat. Please access the video link and share it with your students. That has the simple procedure of accessing the content. I'll stop sharing my screen and I hand it over to Gautam for taking us and enlightening us with the soft skills course, the way this has been organized. Thank you so much. I know people are already saying hi, and many of these calls, many of the chat, we will come towards the end of the session. And please, we'll be very sure, we'll be very sure to answer all your queries towards the end of the session. So please do put your queries, and there is a team which is noting down all the queries that you have. Please don't hesitate to put your questions there. All right. So I'll hand it over to Gautam to take us through the soft skills course. Over to you, Gautam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sasa. So a lot of people are still joining, so there's a lot of pinging going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, it's wonderful to see all of you. So I'm sure there'll be some fresh faces and some old faces. I must be an old face for most of you, hopefully. And okay, so our focus for today, and if there are any students again, it is wonderful that you have decided to join. I don't know which ones of you might be students, but then of course, if there are any students, welcome to this session. This is the very first session you're joining, and I'll make sure that whatever I speak and show makes sense to you, right? And shows you how to use the soft skills lab and make the most of it. Okay. I'll share my screen and we will take a look at the soft skills lab. So the previous sessions were focused on the communication skills lab. So today it's the next chapter, the soft skills lab. I understand that some of you would be starting with the soft skills lab. So for you, that's going to be the very first chapter. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll go directly to the soft skills. Not this. It's this one. Okay, so if this is the first time you're looking at the dashboard, I doubt though it's the first time, because I'm sure that even if it's the first session you're attending, you would have logged in uh, and checked, right, what's there and explored the platform. So we're looking at the soft skills landing page. And as you can see, I have opened the page about the lab. Now, soft skills is a new program for the entire VTU consortium. And it's a great addition to the existing communication skills lab. Now, why do I call it a great addition? It's a great addition because, again, soft skills and communication skills go hand in hand. And it's a good thing that we are also looking forward to developing the soft skills of our students. Now, what do we understand by soft skills? I'll just explain that very quickly here. It's on the about the lab page, right? So we're going to talk about social skills, emotional skills, such as EQ, time management, stress management, mindfulness, professional skills such as problem solving, critical thinking, and so on. Now, as you can see, soft skills are, the need of this hour, especially the fact that life is not getting any easier, right, for fresh graduates or for the established set of people. But then, of course, I'm addressing, right, soon to be graduates here. So life is not going to get easy for you, right? So a good set of soft skills and a strong awareness of soft skills can really ease things out to a great extent, right? No matter what the challenges might be lying ahead of you. So how is that going to happen? We'll see. Okay. Yeah, too many phone calls. Now, I'll just let me explain the course structure once. So you have these 5 modules that you can see on the left-hand column, right? So you see module 1, social skills, module 2, emotional skills, part 1, module 3 is emotional skills, part 2, module 4 is professional skills, part 1, and module 5 is professional skills, part 2. In case you're curious about what exactly is part of professional skills, what exactly is part of emotional skills, please log in and explore the modules, right, at your leisure. Today, again, for the sake of, I mean, in the, taking time into account and the fact that, right, I need to show you something that you can use right away. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the second module, right? Or we could also focus on the first module, but then for some reason I want to focus on the second module. I'm also doing that because we have been told that by the end of November, students are expected to complete up to module number 2. So students are expected to complete up to module number 2 by the end of this month. I think it makes sense that we show you something around module 2. Okay. Right. Before I start, just remember that those of you who still haven't taken the Know Your Level test, or if I'm speaking to the librarians or faculty members here, if you know that some of the students are yet to take the Know Your Level test, though I think most of them would have taken the test by now, please do push them towards writing the test. It's an important starting point. It's a great starting point. It also gives you important information around your students, information that you can use to make some useful decisions around, what activities and what topics should you push your students towards, and what would they benefit the most from. Okay. As you already know, the Know Level test places your students at certain CFR levels, and that tells you what you need to know about the current competency as far as certain skill sets are concerned. Okay. So I'm not going to dwell more on the Know Your Level test. I have dwelled on it a lot in the past sessions. Students, if you're listening here, write the Know Your Level test if you haven't already. Okay, and you'll get a good idea of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what to work on. It's always good to know oneself. And that's a very good starting point. Okay. Now I'm going to explain how everything has been planned, right, per module, using module 2 as an example. Module 2, as you can see on the screen, is emotional skills 1. And what is the way module 2 has been structured is exactly the way the other modules have been structured. So it's consistent, throughout all the modules. So if you understand the flow of module 2, you will have automatically understood the flow of the other modules. Now, again, for the newcomers, um, every module has got 3 distinct learning stages. Every module has got 3 distinct learning stages. You have the first stage, concept building, where the concepts around that particular topic are introduced. And then you have the second stage, practice activities, where you put in all the learning into practice, right? That's where you get your hands dirty, right? And you really learn, because learning without application is not learning. So practice activities is all about application. The third step, the third learning stage, is the modules test. It's essentially where everything comes together in the form of a set of questions that you need to answer, get a good score, right, before you should move to the next module. And again, I'm speaking here to the librarians and the faculty members. Please do ensure that students write the module test and they do well on the module test. In case they don't, just redirect them to the concept building resources and the practice activities, so that, right, so that whatever gap is left is addressed. Okay, so the 3 learning stages: concept building, practice activities, and the module test. Let's take a look at concept building. And remember, we take a look at module 2, emotional skills 1. So when you click on the concept building section, you're going to see, yeah, that's my screen now. I hope you can see my screen. You're going to see something like this. So what does it say? Right? It says concept building, emotional intelligence and stress management, time management, adaptability, and resilience. So this essentially means that emotional skills 1, right, is made up of, or has these topics, comprises of emotional intelligence, stress management, time management, adaptability, and resilience. Let's say, right, today I want to learn something about time management and also resilience. So where do I click? I click on that particular link. Okay. So where are we? We are looking at the topics time management, adaptability, and resilience. This is part of emotional skills 1. And what you see in front of you is what we call an interactive book, right? An interactive book, it's a book as you can see, they've got chapters, You've got chapters on the left. So what's the first chapter? Introduction to time management. What's the second chapter? Key principles of time management. What's the third chapter? CV. CV stands for concept video. It's a concept video on mastering time management. I think we have another video on mastering time management, effective strategies on how to manage your time, and so on. Right? And then, of course, you'll have the other topics, adaptability and resilience. So the interactive book is not just a book where you know do a lot of reading. It's not that sort of a book. It's a book that you engage with. For example, right, as you can see here, if I'm looking at time management effective strategies, it's just one note that I'm reading, and then I'm answering some questions pertaining to what I've just read. So saying yes to everything can lead to burnout. Is that yes? Is that no? I think it's yes. Let's see. Ah, so I've got one more question after this. Can the use of productivity tools like calendars and to-do lists improve time management? No, I don't think so. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's false. So I've got some feedback that using tools like calendars and to-do lists is actually a good strategy to enhance time management. So what I'm trying to show you here is that when you go through uh, the uh, the resources, right? So even if it's just something, an introduction to time management, there is something to engage with, right? There are questions that make the entire experience interactive because you're not just reading, right? You're also actively applying yourself at that very moment of time. And that's again why this is called an interactive book. Okay. And as usual, we have a lot of concept videos, interactive concept videos to ensure that all the important concepts are covered through videos. And I'll just play this video on mastering time management, at least for the first comers, for the newcomers, right, who might have, not have been exposed to these videos yet, though I doubt that seriously, but still, let's give it a go. So we're going to take a look at a concept video. We just took a look at a few notes, a few slides around time management. We saw that there were lots of interactive questions. Now let's see what the concept video looks like and how has it been designed. Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome to the concept video on time management. We all do know it's important to manage our time effectively and efficiently. Let's learn how to master.
I hope the audio is clear. In case you find that the audio is a bit low, I would request you to please I mean adjust the volume, just make it higher, please. Right? Sometimes, especially when we're sharing our screens, when we share the audio of our device, it's not that very loud. So in case you find that it's a little low, please adjust volumes accordingly. So I'll play it now.
Time management. These are the topics at a glance: the Pomodoro technique, the Pareto principle, setting smart goals, and tips to manage time effectively.
So for every video, you have the agenda, right? And this seems quite interesting. We're going to learn about the Pomodoro technique, the Pareto principle, how do we set smart goals, and the tips to manage time effectively. And again, I think I have said this a number of times before. Everything that you're going to learn here, or everything that a student learns here, right, it can be put to use in one's everyday life. It's very, very practicable, right? It's not just theory. It's not just something that it's good to know. It's something that you can really apply and something that can make a difference, right? In this case, to how you manage your time. So let's find out a little about the Pomodoro technique.
Going on to the Pomodoro technique now. The Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro technique involves working in focused time intervals called Pomodoros. First, you take up a task. Set your timer for a 25-minute Pomodoro. Work with attention and focus. Work these 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break. Repeat for another 3 times. After the fourth Pomodoro, take a longer break of 10 to 15 minutes and then start again. This technique is designed to enhance concentration and productivity. Now we'll go on to the next key principle.
Okay, so the Pomodoro technique is it's perhaps the most popular technique when it comes to managing time, right? And breaking your work into manageable blocks of time so that you don't burn out that easily. Again, right? It's something that one should practice, get the hang of, and you're going to see real changes when it comes to, right, the efficiency, the speed with which you learn, right, and at the end you're going to feel less burnt out or less stressed out. Just because you've had a long day of study or work, right, doesn't necessarily mean that at the end of the day, right, you're totally out of energy. If you follow the Pomodoro technique, it's something that will ensure that even at the end of the day, after a long work day, you've planned it out well, you've used a certain number of Pomodoros, you're going to come out of the day, smiling and full of energy. So my point again is, right, again, faculty members, dear faculty members and librarians, do push your students towards not just, you know, uh, going through the theory, but also push them towards applying it, and have a chat in the classroom around, okay, right, so you've learned about the Pomodoro, right, how do you plan to apply it in your everyday life? So give me an example of, how would you use the Pomodoro technique to to perhaps prepare for the next exam that's coming up, or whatever activity that might be, in their list of things to do. Okay, so engage students with these ideas. These are very good ideas and ideas that students can gain a lot from. Okay, so concept building is essentially through the interactive book where students watch interactive videos. What makes it interactive? I forgot to show you. Let's show you what makes it interactive.
Which yield 80% of the results and focus your efforts on them.
Right. So what makes it interactive is the fact that you've got questions that pop up as you watch the video. Student is watching a video learning about the Pareto principle, and now there's a question on the Pareto principle, and the student was not paying attention. The student cannot answer this question. And if the student cannot answer the question, the student cannot move forward and watch the remaining of the video. So I have to answer the question. Okay, that's true, right? The Pareto principle suggests prioritizing improvements from the 20% of customers. I mean, okay, so essentially the Pareto principle is, right, focus on the 20%, right, that contributes the most to the outcome, right? So the student answers the question correctly, is allowed to continue. If the student answers the question incorrectly, then there's a feedback that pops up and the student learns from the feedback and then continues and watches the next part of the video.
Now we go on to the next. Setting smart goals.
Okay. And there'll be more questions popping up. So the student will be on his or her toes because the student knows that, all right, I need to pay attention because I'll be tested on what is being taught. Right. So we've just taken a look at the concept building section, right? It's a collection of notes, integrated questions, interactive videos. Now let's take a look at the second step of learning. And what's that? The practice activities. This is where, again, the students apply what they have learned. And I'll focus on two activities for now. One, which is an AI integrated activity, and the second, which is a class-based activity. So we'll start with the AI integrated activity that students can do on their own. And post that, right, we'll talk about the case-based activity that students can do in the group with the help of a facilitator. Before that, this is the practice section. Everything that you see here on the left column, everything is an activity. Know your emotional quotient. This is a nice quiz at the end of which, right, the students will understand, right, where they stand as far as their emotional quotient is concerned. I would also advise all of you to do it, all the faculty members of the library. It's good to know your emotional quotient, and then it also tells you, right, what are the areas that you could work on. Some of us might be very intelligent, but then when it comes to emotions, some of us might not be very good at handling our emotions. And in this day and age, I think emotional quotient is a little more important than your basic intelligence. Okay, but then again, we can have the discussion later. All right. So let's look at one of these activities. All these are activities. As you can see, there are lots of activities. And I want to show you something around. Yeah. let's say resilience. Okay, so resilience, a new topic. What is resilience? Resilience is the ability to essentially get back on your feet after you have been pushed down or knocked down. And that's, again, a very, very essential soft skill that all of us should have should have loads of. We should have loads of resilience. But then again, right, it's something that we need to practice, something we need to nurture, right, consciously. So just to get students to think about resilience, right, they've already gone through the concept building part. They have gone through some notes on resilience, answered some questions. They have the insights, right? But this is application time, right? So we want them to reflect on what resilience is and what role resilience has played or can play in their lives. So this is the context of this activity. So let's understand what this activity wants a student to do. This is a chance to build on your ability to bounce back from setbacks. Okay, so as we already know, it's all about getting back on your feet when life knocks you down. We've all faced moments of failure or disappointment, and this exercise provides a safe space for you to reflect on one of those moments. A safe space, as in, right? Well, you don't have to worry about sharing this experience with anyone else for now. For now, it's all about you reflecting on certain times when you have shown resilience. So, what is a student expected to do? You'll speak about a time when you had to overcome a difficult situation, and you'll share the specific actions you took to persevere. The aim is to help you see that resilience is not about avoiding problems, but how you respond to them and what you learn in the process. Okay, so I need to speak about a time when I had to overcome a difficult situation. And what are the actions that I took, and what were the learnings, perhaps, from that experience? It's a good thing, especially when times are a bit difficult, or when, things are very challenging. It's good to think of the past. It's good to think of instances in the past when you showed resilience. You got up on your feet even though things were not that easy. Okay, so I've got some tips for me. And again, for those of you who are looking at this, an AI activity for the first time, this is an AI integrated activity, a speaking activity, at the end of which you're going to get some feedback and some analysis, right, on your performance. In this case, right, it'll tell you a little about your response and how the response meets or doesn't meet the requirements of the task, right, and some other pointers around that. Okay, so I'll be the student here. I'm going to reflect on how resilient I am by talking about a past experience around resilience. I have to be honest. I have to focus on how, not just what happened, but how did I respond to it. I need to look for the lesson, and I need to, end with a final advice, right? Okay, so let's see. Let's see. I already know about the task. Speak about a time when you had to overcome a difficult situation. Share the specific actions you took to persevere. I've got around 2 minutes to deliver my my experience. 120 words around to cover, and these are some target words that are relevant to this particular task: setback, failure, resilience, overcome, and so on. Okay, let's start this activity. Okay, so I just need to click on the mic button and then I'll record my response. So here we go. Um, when I was in when I was in my second year of college, there was we were expected to write Hindi as as a as a second language, and I've not studied Hindi beyond class 10th. And now, if I did not pass my Hindi exam, I would fail in my second year, and that is something, of course, right, I couldn't afford. So what happened was that I found that this was too big a mountain to climb, because I've always had problems with Hindi spellings, especially. And at the college level, of course, the texts that you had to study were much more challenging than in school. So I was in a bad state, and I was almost thinking of postponing my exams and perhaps taking it up uh, the next year, and lose a year in the process. But then at the end, I thought that that would not be a wise decision, because it was not that I didn't have the time to study. It was just that the challenge itself seemed a bit too big or too intimidating for me. So I pulled up my socks, and I, I did my best. I made a lot of notes. I got the help of friends and classmates who were more comfortable with the language, and they helped me out to a great extent. I looked for help elsewhere too. Uh, I did a lot of past question papers, and at the end, I did pass. So yes, so that was my experience, and yeah, that's about it. Okay. It's the first time I'm answering this question, okay? So I just spoke about whatever that came to my mind. But then, of course, right, I'll still get some feedback. I'll know how did I perform, and I'll know whether I talked about the lessons learned. Did I talk about the lesson learned? No, I did not. I forgot, right? So let's find out what was good about my response, and what could I have reflected on a little more, just to, understand the role of resilience, the role that resilience has played in my life. So I'm going to submit my response now. And before I submit, right, there's a model answer every time for any task that requires speaking or writing. Let's listen to the model answer once.
I recently faced a major setback when I got a lower grade on a group project than I was expecting. It felt like a personal failure because I had put a lot of effort in. I was filled with disappointment and frustration. To overcome this, I first took some time to reflect.
Yeah, so this goes in a more organized manner. So this is the model answer. Students can listen to the model answer. They're always encouraged to do so. This tells them a lot about what the ideal answer would be. But again, to every question, the model answer is a good answer, but then it might not be a close reflection of their own answer. So it's always good to have some personal feedback and analysis. And that's exactly what we'll be looking at now. Okay. So what's happening now is I've submitted my response, and at the back end, the language models, the large language models, have gotten busy analyzing my response. And we have instructed, the AI models to focus on certain points, certain parameters, while analyzing each response, so that the feedback is as personal and as tailored as it can get. Okay, so I think, okay, I've done quite well, it seems. Okay, let's see. Let's say I've got 5 stars out of 5. This is my response. I just, my God, how long a response is it? But never mind. I think I got a bit carried away. That's okay. So these are my exact words, the transcript, the very words that I spoke. This is uh, the the corrected version of my work, right? Whatever you see in red, okay, either there's a grammatical mistake or a word I shouldn't have used, right? And whatever you see in green is a correction. For example, when I was in my, so I'll just skip the red part, right? Because red part says that I shouldn't have said this. So when I was in my second year of college, we were expected to write Hindi as a second language. And then what did I say? And I have not studied Hindi, right? That's not the way I should go. Actually, I should have simply said I hadn't studied Hindi beyond the 10th grade. So as you can see, the green bits are the corrected bits, the suggestions, that, okay, instead of and I have not, simply say I hadn't, which is much more effective. So the focus here is on language use mostly. And yeah, that's true for the entire response. A lot of mistakes, as you can see, and a lot of corrections. Okay. For some reason, we don't have the detailed feedback that follows this, but I think that's okay. What usually happens is sometimes when I share my screen and if you're having an online sort of gathering as such, the bandwidth can, play up a little. So what I'll do is I'll just go back and I'll just spend just 10 seconds on the response because I want to show you the feedback. And let's hope that the feedback pops up this time. I'll close the other window. This usually only happens when we are sharing. Okay, yeah. Speech details. No, I don't want to see this now. Click here to get started. All right, so just bear with me. I'll just quickly go through, I'll do the task again, and we'll take a look at the feedback that comes at the end. Because what came was the feedback, but the second part of the feedback, for some reason, did not show up. Okay, I think I just need to click on, I might have to do another activity for this. That's okay. Fine, no problem. All right, so I'll explain the feedback process using another activity. I apologize for that because I think my network, some problem with the network didn't allow the server to give the entire feedback. So I'm just going to another activity. This is around talking about a change story. I'll just show you the topic. Share a story about a time when you had to adapt to a significant change. So this is part of resilience. This is about the adaptive. The part that resilience is not just about standing up. You also have to adapt. You have to change. You have to make some changes in your life or in your habits, right? Why am I showing this activity? I'm showing this to you because I want to show you the feedback that we get at the end. And the last feedback that we got, again, was not complete. And I hope that my connection allows for a more complete feedback to materialize. Okay, so the last time I had to adapt to a significant change was when I had to overcome my fear of Hindi and learn Hindi to qualify for to pass my second year college exams. Okay, okay, that's it. That's it. So that was a very short response, not recommended, but I just did it here because this is a demonstration. So there's a model answer. I click on done. Okay, yeah. So now the evaluation is on. So what we're going to see is feedback around certain parameters, right? Certain parameters around the task. So in this case, the task is talk about a time when you had to change. So we're going to see how the feedback helps me come up with a better response, perhaps the next time I attempt such an activity. Because at the end of the day, the more you reflect, right, about your past experiences and the more you can articulate about your past experiences, right, the better your understanding will be about what adaptability means and what resilience means. I've got 1 star here. Oh, thank you so much. This is the transcript. Yes. And this is the feedback that I was talking about. Okay. Now, this is, again, a feature of all our writing and our speaking tasks, right? You get detailed feedback for every response across certain parameters. The first parameter is relevance. The second is clarity and structure. The third is depth of reflection. The fourth is actionable steps. The fifth is vocabulary use. The sixth is overall coherence. And the seventh is concluding thought. Now, just think about it. If I'm talking about a past experience, right, and how I adapted and how I changed according to the requirements, right, I should have given you the details of my experience, right? So that's the depth of reflection. I should have talked about the steps I took, right? I should have talked about the learning or the concluding thought. So how did I fare? Let's find out, right? Let's start with number 1, relevance. It's relevant, yes, because it's a personal change related to learning Hindi. Clarity and structure. The response lacks a clear structure with a beginning, middle, and end. Consider starting with a challenge, describing the process of overcoming it, and concluding with the outcome. For example, I was initially afraid of Hindi, but I decided to tackle this fear by enrolling in a language course. After months of practice, I successfully passed my exams. Now, articulating your thoughts clearly. So if there are students, please listen to this carefully. Your ability to articulate your thoughts, to put your thoughts into words, is a very important skill, right? It is a communication skill, yes, but then you might also need, right, some emotional intelligence, right, some soft skills to make your answer more complete, more resonant, more relatable. So we have feedback even on the soft skills course. We have feedback on clarity and structure, because if you're talking about your feelings, you should be able to talk about your feelings clearly, right? You should be able to put together your thoughts properly. If you're talking about a past experience, it should be coherent. It should have a proper structure. And that's why you have feedback on structure too. Depth of reflection, the response lacks depth in reflection. Describe your feelings about learning Hindi and what you learned from the experience. For example, initially I felt overwhelmed and anxious, but as I progressed, I gained confidence and realized the importance of perseverance. So I really didn't talk about my feelings in detail. In this case, of course, I was just giving an example, but then a student would know that, okay, right, if I'm talking about my experience, I should get into the details of it. I should put down exactly what I felt. I felt overwhelmed, I felt anxious, right? But as I progressed, I gained confidence. That's a very nice way to show your progress in your emotional state. Actionable steps. The response does not explain the actions taken to manage the change. So give examples. I attended Hindi classes twice a week, for example, right? Overall coherence, not so much, right? We already know it was not that coherent. Concluding thought, the response lacks a strong conclusion. Connect the final lesson back to the beginning. For example, overcoming my fear of Hindi taught me that facing challenges head on can lead to personal growth and success. So this is a beautiful activity, right, that students can do on their own, learn about adaptability, learn about resilience, and learn the fact that it's not new, right? They've always adapted, they've always been resilient. It's just that sometimes we just need to be reminded, right, about a past time when we showed those qualities. And that helps, right, us in our current challenging state too. Okay. I want to show one thing now. We have some, as I'd already mentioned at the beginning, right? We have a case-based or class-based activities too for facilitators or teachers to conduct, or at least mediate. You don't have to actively conduct. Sometimes you just need to be there and observe. Now, we looked at navigating your change story part one. So what was there? That was a solo activity. Students had to talk about, right, how they changed, how they adapted to some change. This is the second part of that activity. It's more of a culmination, right, where a teacher helps students in a class, right, talk about their experiences around change. So this is navigating your change story too. It's a class-based activity. And for every such class-based activity, we have got tips for teachers, clear tips and clear actionable steps for teachers to follow. For example, if you're a teacher or you are a facilitator and you need to conduct this activity in the class, right? What should you do? How should you introduce the activity, right? And how much time should you give for individual reflection? For example, give students 10 minutes to think about a time they experience a significant change, right? And ask them to focus on these questions. What was the change? What were your initial emotions and reactions? What actions did you take to manage the change, and so on? And then divide the students into small groups. Ask each student to share the change story with their group. And then, once they have done that, right, have a short discussion around the experiences. Ask them to identify common themes or strategies. And wrap it up by asking some questions such as, what did you learn about your own approach? How can you apply these insights to future changes you might face, such as career transitions or new projects? It's very important that students get together in a group and share their experiences, especially when it comes to uh, skills such as resilience, adaptability, where they have some personal stories to exchange. So it helps in many ways. It helps, it gives them more confidence. It tells them that they're not alone. Everybody faces these issues. It also helps them express themselves more clearly. It helps with their communication skills. And at the end, it also creates a lot of solidarity among the students. Right. So my point again here is you have step-by-step instructions. You have got some teacher tips, right? And we also have student instructions, right? Instructions that you would like to share with the students. So it's complete in each and every way. So all you have to do is follow the instructions and play, the role of a good mediator or observer, depending on the task. Okay. So this was a class-based activity that we looked at, and this almost brings me to the end of showing you soft skills for today. Right, the only thing that's left is the module test, which students write at the end. And as I was saying, do make sure that your students, get a good score on the module test, right, before they move to the next module. Okay, and if they don't, just redirect them to the learning resources and the practice activities. Okay, I've got around 6 minutes left, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I've got around 6 minutes left. I want to quickly show you the facilitator guide for the soft skills program, right? Now, you've seen the instructor's handbook for communication skills. This is the instructor's handbook for soft skills, right? It's similar to the handbook on communication skills, except, of course, right, the coverage of the modules is concerned. So you could go through the introduction, the pedagogical approach. You already know it, right? I've shown it to you, right? The facilitator's role, please go through point number 6. The facilitator's role before the session, during the session, and after the session, right? And I'm going to highlight this facilitator's role for you using one of the session plans for Module 2. Module 2 is Emotional Skills 1, right? That was what we were looking at. Now, how do you use this guide, right? And how does it help you plan each session or each module? So that's the most important part, right? So that's why I'm going to go to the session plans directly. The rest, I please would request you to explore once on your own, right? It's quite intuitive, right? It's quite direct, and you'll have a clear idea of what is expected from you as a facilitator and what are the best practices. Okay, the highlight here are the session plans, and we're going to look at the session plan for Module 2, Emotional Skills 1. Now, if you are a facilitator and you're wondering, okay, right, this week or for the next 2 weeks, we need to cover or we need to focus on Emotional Skills 1. What do I do? Do I have a plan? Yes, you have a plan. And where is the plan? Annexure 1, page 18, I believe, or 21. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, there you are. Emotional skills. No, that was emotional skills 1. Sorry, so sorry. Emotional skills 1. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, right? Okay. Module 1, social skills. Let's do it slowly now. Module 1, social skills. Module 2, emotional skills 1. Yes. What page is this? This is page number 19. Now, the session plans are what you need to be intimately familiar with. This is a session plan. Why are we calling it a session plan? Because we have a plan, a pre-made plan, right? Divided into 2 distinct parts. What students need to do pre-class, right? Pre-class. So what should be done before you have planned a session? What should you ask them to do? And then what you do in the session, right? In class. So that is facilitator led. Now you have the next 2 weeks focused on, for example, emotional skills 1. Okay. And let's say you have a short session tomorrow, a 45-minute session tomorrow, or a 1-hour session tomorrow. So what are you going to do? First, you're going to ask the student to come prepared, right? By having completed some videos and by having gone through certain notes, right? On a certain topic. For example, tomorrow you want to cover time management, adaptability, and resilience, right? That's what we were looking at. So these topics are familiar to you. So you'll tell the student that, okay, tomorrow we've got a session on time management, right, and resilience. So I want you to make sure that you've gone through the video, Mastering Time Management 1 and 2, and you've gone through the notes, time management, key principles of time management, effective strategies, and so on. So this tells you exactly what your student should do, right, before the session starts. So this is the pre-class work that the student does. And then you have to direct the student to these tasks. Okay. Now, in the classroom, what are you going to do? So as far as time management is concerned, right, you can pick up some of the activities around time management, or as we were looking at, time management here, activity, there's a lot on your plate, right? Use the Eisenhower matrix to effectively manage your time and prioritize tasks. Or there's another activity called the TikTok test. Reflect your time use habits and discover your time personality type. So for every pre-class action, there's a corresponding activity for you to direct the student towards in the class. You don't have to conduct these activities, you just have to oversee the activities, and you need to ensure that students are doing what is expected of them. And remember the last activity that we were discussing, the in-class, the class activity where students had to be grouped together and they would talk about their experience of changes, right? So you would know exactly which of the classroom activities you could conduct, right? For example, I think that was this one, right? Group activity, navigating your change story too, right? And you'd know that, okay, I can choose this activity for the class today if I am conducting a session on resilience or adaptability. So the session plan is your guide when it comes to assigning homework, pre-class work for the students, planning your session, whether it be activities that students do on their own or activities that you would like to conduct in the class, right? And it's also your guide for post-class work, homework, right? So you see that some students are struggling with certain aspects. Some students are not clear about the Pomodoro method. So you guide them towards some activities and some notes that they could do for homework. So I'll wrap things up here. It's already 3:30. I'd request you again, uh, earnestly, to be very familiar with the session modules, the module-wise, the session plan for each module. Why? Because this is what will tell you exactly how to plan every session, pre-class, in-class, and post-class. Okay, okay. Thank you so much for being such patient participants. I'll stop sharing my screen now. We have come to the end of the event. And I'm sure that you've had a lot of questions, and I hope that we've been able to answer some of your questions at the back end while the session was on. Before I wrap this session up, Ashwini or Rajesh sir, are there any questions that you'd like to openly address, or we've already settled everything?
Yeah, now we have allowed them to unmute themselves. So if anyone has any queries, you can just reach out now. Yeah.
Yeah. Any queries? You've unmuted? I mean, you can unmute yourselves. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, ma'am. Afternoon.
Sir, I had a query like, can we assess if how much the students have accessed the data or the content?